Hey everybody, it's Mark, Dr. Deadwax, and I'm back for day 29 of the Inbox Challenge, week 5. Who'd have thunk? Today's numbers were picked by BluesVinyl, regular commenter on all of our videos. Pick 3 numbers, I'm going to do 4, and you'll see why in a minute. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. A lot of people have written to me in the past year wanting to buy inner sleeves, and I've sold some people inner sleeves whenever I've had a couple extra hundred in my batches, and and I've always said at one point I'm going to try and put an order in. I think I might be able to put an order in through somebody for around the end of November. So I've always said they're 18 bucks for 100. I doubt the price will get any better. If you're in Canada, shipping will probably be 20 bucks, but you could probably get 300 to 400 in that, and that would make it worth your cost. If you're in the US, I can ship to you from the US, and I'm not sure what shipping will be, probably somewhere between 12 and 15 bucks, and again, it'll be weight dependent. If you're in the rest of the world, it's just too awkward and cost prohibitive to ship them. So if you want some, PM me your email. If you already have my email, write to me. And anyway, so that's enough of that. First record, Sheffield Labs, Tower of Power Direct. This is a direct-to-disc record by Tower of Power from Sheffield Labs. It's got this nasty sticker damage on it. I bought this off of a guy online in a forum for like 3 or 4 bucks, and he had all of these direct-to-disc, and they were all promos. Sample copies, and he peeled the stickers off of all of them and ruined the covers instead of just leaving the stickers on. So because of that, I got it for like 3 or 4 bucks, and it's in perfect mint condition. So everybody knows, well, maybe not everybody knows, the Tower of Power are this awesome soul funk horn, kind of horn-driven band from I think Oakland, California, and there's the recording setup for the direct-to-disc. Here's just shots and stories of the people to that center. This is on the Sheffield Labs label with, I think that's Petunia. And this has KM stamped in the Deadwax, which stands for KM Records, and it has SML handwritten in the Deadwax, which stands for Sheffield Labs Matrix, and those are the people that manufactured the record after the plates were cut live. So direct-to-disc recordings, I've talked about Sheffield Labs before, and direct-to-disc, they're live, off the floor, recorded directly to the lathe. So if you make a mistake, you stop, you take the lacquer off the lathe, and you throw it away, and you put a new one on, and you start again. And so you got to get through like a 20-minute side, basically, clean. And it's a bit of a challenge. This is amazing. I mean, Tower of Power, they have this incredibly tight live show, and that's basically what this is. This is a live show. There's 6 songs on the record. 3 of them are from previous albums. 3 of them are new songs, 2 of which appeared on a later record after this. And they've put on a sensational live show since like day 1. And basically, the goal here was to capture the energy of that live show in a studio, and I think they did it really well. This is a fantastic sounding record, and it really cranks well. Tower of Power, the horn section of Tower of Power is toured with other bands. They're awesome, super tight, funky soul, slightly R&B, just great. Sometimes they're instrumental, sometimes they're vocal. This is a great record. If you if you got a system that's worth showing off, this is a good one. I highly recommend it. Next is Genesis, from Genesis to Revelation. This is London PS 643. This is a Canadian pressing. It's on the London Pastoral Sunburst label. It has SNB in the deadwax, which we discussed before is Sabine Brunet from SNB, and they cut the plates out of Quebec. Now this is supposed to be from like early 70s in Canada on, but this isn't. And yet there's a reissue stated on Discogs that says 1983, and yet this isn't then either because it has the original catalog. So I'm not quite sure when this comes in, but this is Polygram. I wouldn't be surprised if this is somewhere between 79 and 81. You know, there is no copyright date on this thing other than like 1969 by the Decca Record Company in London. Comes with an inner lyric sheet, and you know, it sounds pretty good. This is a nice clean copy. I got this in a box of free records. How do you not take that from a box of free records? So next is Genesis in the Beginning on London, and this is a U.S. pressing of the exact same record with a different name because the guy who owns the rights to this record, he's re-released this thing 100 times. And this comes with the London inner sleeve, and again it's got the sunburst and the bridge, the kind of pastoral scene. I can't remember who owns the rights to this, but he, like I said, he's released this record like 35 times or something now, and he uses all kinds of different names for the title of the record. There's In the Beginning, and I can't remember them all right now. Anyway, so this is a U.S. pressing of this one. It's the exact same record, the exact same music. There's no extra songs or anything. And this is on the London label out of the U.S. And again, I'm not quite sure when this is from because this version is not on Discogs because it has XZAL at the very bottom of the label, and none of the versions on Discogs have that. So, but I think this one dates to 1977 because all the other, there's like a whole bunch of these, but all the other LC 5006 Londons date to 1977. So I think this is just another variant done at a different plant or something. And again, it has the exact same track list. This record here does not have the last song listed as A Place to Call My Own, but it is on the label and it is on the record. This version here, of course, has it on it, on the label and on the cover. So they both have the identical track list and track order. This record sounds better, much better than this record does. It's incredible how different they sound. This record has a really good, strong, clean bottom end. This end doesn't. This end's been turned up in the vocal range, and Peter Gabriel's in that part of the mix where vocals Gabriel is. This is clearer, more prominent, more out front than this mix, but overall this is way better because this has the bass is muddier and it's not as prominent, it's not as driving and stuff. So musically, this is great stuff. I mean, some people say that this is the best thing Genesis ever did. And no, get a grip. This is not the best thing Genesis ever did. This is really interesting music, though. It's kind of like, it's slightly proggy, slightly. And it's very pop, 60s pop, slightly Bee Gees influence, but yet a lot more progressive in its like it's light and it's airy and it's got all that kind of pop sensibility to it, but it's got a little bit of what came later in it as well that other stuff didn't have. I would compare it more closely to slightly less polished than like early Yes when they were doing covers of Beatles and stuff like that. But a lot more short song pop than that. And interestingly, I mean, I talked about Invisible Touch recently, which, oh my god. Like Mike Rutherford's bass lines on this in his teens, because this was recorded when the boys were under 20. His bass lines on this in his teens are more interesting than the stuff he played on Invisible Touch. Like, what the hell? I highly recommend this. This is the first time I've ever heard these. I saw them years ago, like when I was in high school, and you know, and everybody else said, "Oh, that's just some thing they did when they were young that's been repackaged." And I'd been burned buying, you know, when I was very young, buying those Beatles Hamburg concert things that are packaged as Beatles records, and they're just like that horrible live, drony, awful stuff of the Beatles that was repackaged. So that was the impression I was given of this. This is great shit. This will get lots of play. This is fun music. Side 1 is way better than side 2. And the last record is Elim Hall, Things Break. Elim Hall are a band out of Canada. They're from southwest Ontario, between the area of London and Sarnia, and they're a Christian rock band. And this record's from 1986, and they put out, I think, 2 records, and it's on Reunion Records. Oh, and look, the Deadwax is so big on this, you can see the dreaded 2HZ. Now, this record is supposed to be mastered by Howie Weinberg at Masterdisc in New York. That's what it says in the credits. So maybe he mastered the mix, and maybe he mastered the US plates. Like maybe he actually cut the US plates, or maybe he just mastered the mix. But these plates were cut in Canada because they have the dreaded 2HZ. So this is a Christian post-punk band, Christian new wave. And it's not like all lordy, lordy, Christy, Christy Christian. It's kind of conceptual Christian music about greed and stuff like that, as opposed to like preachy, biblical messagey, quotation-y Christian music. This is actually pretty damn good. It has a... I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Canadian band Spoons. It has a little bit of their sound, a little bit of Chalk Circle, a little bit of U2, a little bit of... it's just got that 80s post-punk, I call it new wave because I grew up with it, sound. And it's pretty good music. Musically, these guys were really good. It was 2 brothers, Glenn and Ross Teeple, and their cousin Steve Marsh. And the band is called Elim Hall because Elim Hall is a Plymouth Brethren chapel, church, meeting hall, meeting room that was built by their grandfathers because they're cousins. So it was their grandfathers built this. Let's call it a church, okay? And I'd never heard of the Plymouth Brethren before that, but when I was doing some research on the Plymouth Brethren, there was actually the Bendale Bible Chapel was like blocks from where I grew up in Scarborough. So, and the Bendale Bible Chapel has had a coffee house drop-in thing where basically all of the kind of Canadian Christian rock bands from this area have gotten their start. So anyway, and then Glenn Teeple and his cousin Steve Marsh went on to join Ian Tanner of The Awakening, who had been on Reunion Records, and they joined his next band called 100 Days for an album, And on the day that the album was released, Steve Marsh died of liver cancer. So that was kind of young and unfortunate. This slightly Rush feel at moments, slightly Northern Pikes. It really has a Canadian new wave feel to it. There is another record apparently, so I might actually try and track that down. Elim Hall. You know, I didn't know they were a Christian band when I bought it. I bought this at a thrift for $2. It was just a Canadian record from the 80s I'd never heard of, and I don't know why I took the chance on it. It just looked interesting. But I mean, the song titles are like Hypothermia, Erosion, The Park in the Spring, At the Falls, Things Break, Let's Play Science Says, Moved, Testimony, and My Flag Always Fades. You know, those are some of the less preachiest Christian song titles I've seen on the Christian rock records that have come through my hands. And Reunion Records is a label that Michael W. Smith is on, and they toured and opened for Michael W. Smith. So, I don't know. Check it out. These are great. It's kind of fun. I pulled this one, and this one was in the same bin. And I thought, this is the same record. I might as well do both and compare them and talk about them. So that's why I did 4. And Tower Power. Check it out. All good records today, actually. So that's it for today, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. And have a great day, everybody. Keep the record spinning.